give up on your legal status. Many people fail to respond to RFE or file an application before the deadline. This is why we offer a strategy session for 15 minutes at no cost to you. Not everyone qualifies. First, you need to speak with our CARES team. We receive many requests, so we recommend you answer a few questions on our website, greencardguys.com. Our mission is to help people live and work in America legally. Go ahead and subscribe below and follow and share. Talk to you soon. In this episode today, I want to share with you the top 3 tips you need to know to help you consider sponsoring someone who is a foreign national, a person who is not a U.S. citizen, and definitely not a permanent resident, because they have a way to get to be able to work, right, with resident status. So this is a video, this topic today, every Wednesday I go live to share about employment-based options, okay, more so in a way so that employers or startup, an entrepreneur starting their own company, and they find talent who is a foreign national, okay, not someone who is a resident in the United States or a U.S. citizen, and they want to know what are the general options. So of course, there's actually not that many options available to sponsor someone, but there are sometimes when you may have more than one option at least. So I'll share a tip here is that, with H-1B coming up, registration right now is November 8th. Okay. Happy Wednesday, by the way. Is that, March, in the beginning, first 2 weeks of March is the registration period for H-1B. And it's only allowed one time a year. So this is why almost every Wednesday I try to share this information so that it reminds you, to keep you top of mind so you don't forget about it. Because who knows, maybe right now you don't even have your own company, but maybe in a couple months, you're like, okay, it's time to forget my own job. I want to start my own company. And you might think, well, why do I even consider talking to an immigration lawyer? Of course, because you can't assume that whoever you may hire is a foreign national, but it is helpful to know some tips. So here we go to number 1, is that you might think that, if the person has not graduated yet, that you can't actually register that person, and it only costs $10. But in fact, yes, you can register that person as long as they graduate by, let's say, May 2024. So since registration is before that, yes, it's understandable to assume that someone could not be eligible for registration. But yes, you can register that person who is in their final semester to graduate. And their key reason essentially is because the deadline to file the package is not in March. It's actually the last day of June. So really, to go a little bit more deeper in that's why we share this, because there's probably a lot of talent, a lot of candidates that are quality candidates for that position that's open. And you definitely don't want to lose that opportunity because you misunderstood the government requirements. Okay. So hopefully that helps you out and don't miss that chance. All right. Now, another tip you need to know, number 2 here, based on employment, is when you speak with a lawyer, always ask, what do I need to give to you to help get this case filed? And you might think, well, wouldn't that be normal for the law firm to share what I need, a checklist and things like that? Yeah, you would think, but some could be a little slower than others. So I'm just sharing this because, for us, we share that checklist on day 1. When you authorize our team to help you, we have that checklist. The thing is, some law firms might be slow, and especially when you have a deadline. Now, fortunately with H-1B, when you get registered, you get selected, you find out end of March, right? And then the deadline to file that package is end of June. And you might think, okay, you got plenty of time. April, May, June, that's 3 months, right? So it seems like 90 days roughly. But look, that time can fly by, especially when especially if you're like CEO, HR, you all have a lot of things to handle. Whereas the foreign national, they're typically ready to go. They got all the evidence ready. It's more about us, our legal team, getting authorization from the employer to get certain information from them. And sometimes, I hate to say, but more so, it's always 90% of the time, it's the employer that they're not trying to intentionally slow it down, but y'all wearing a lot of hats. You have a lot of things to do. I get it. And helping sponsor a foreign national is probably not on your priority list in terms of like the day-to-day task. So I get it. So that's why our team shares tips like this every Wednesday, but also we have a free guide. So a tip for foreign nationals, immigrants, okay? If you find a potential employer and you finally get comfortable at, I'll let them know, hey homie, I need to get sponsored. Then and that person, the HR or that interviewer says, look, yeah, we're open to it. What do I need to know? Ting Law Group. Okay. We have short links to short videos, video clips. So we just run through the key items that employer and HR needs to know so that they can feel comfortable to make that decision to either go up the chain of command or just make that decision themselves to say, yes, we're going to sponsor you. Let's go. Let's roll. So I know that can be, most law firms are not equipped to have that ready to go. So we're trying to help you with the employer make a decision sooner because time matters. The timing matters, especially with employment-based scenarios. Okay. For family-based, not so much of a concern unless, of course, you have an actual deadline set out by USCIS in that regard. Okay. Now, the third thing you need to know, tip for really most visa types is the job description. Okay. Now, on the employer side, HR, I know y'all post the job. You have the job duties, the requirements, but most of y'all put in there the preferred requirements, like what your ideal candidate is in that sense. And I totally get it. That's great. But try to keep that for immigration purposes, keep that to yourselves internally. Okay. Because for government purposes with Department of Labor, you can't say it's gonna violate the immigration requirement if you say, well, I need someone 10-year experience that speaks 3 languages, but really, or just in general, like a significant number of years experience, and even like a master's degree, but then really that type of position, those duties don't typically require that number of years experience. So essentially the government, Department of Labor, and USCIS is saying, don't fluff up, like don't make the job requirement so stringent that you're dissuading others from applying to your job. Essentially, we call it cooling off, or Department of Labor calls it cooling off. So hopefully that helps. Okay. um, so that segment is about employment-based questions or employment-based tips. Happy to answer any questions. I'm going to see if there's any questions related to employment-based. If not, okay, I'm going to hop off on LinkedIn real quick. All right, so I'm going to answer questions. Happy to answer questions for non-employment based. No worries. I'm back on Instagram. Let's see. Okay, so some questions here. Let's see here. Chiku, your friend is living 13 years in USA without status. She wants to know how to apply for green card, what to do. She has a driver license. She has any way to get green card. She's 64-year-old lady. It's hard to say because our team has like a lot more questions, of course, but typical one is that she have any family members that could sponsor? I'm assuming no. Then some people ask, well, can I get sponsored by a company? But I'm already here in the US, okay, and I've overstayed. I mean, a company can start the process, but ultimately, if you overstayed, you're going to trigger you won't be able to apply for 45 here in the United States, stay here for green card. You have to show that you maintain your status. And if you haven't, long story short, solution wise, you have to have a waiver and be eligible for that. Okay, so hopefully that helps. All right, Cami, how do I go about doing an in-country H-2B extension? We don't honestly handle H-2B, but in general, You have to file. You have to have your company, I believe, your company renew it for you. It's not so much you, from my understanding. I could be wrong. To Hey Tony, what's going on? Happy Wednesday. Jonelle, you're 45, transferred from Nebraska to Vermont Service Center, and now they transfer from Vermont to another office. What does that mean? It means they don't know what the heck they're doing, unfortunately. No, in all seriousness, they are trying to, the reason for transferring your case to another service center or office is because the one that it was at, they have too many cases, so they're trying to manage the caseload. But it's pretty silly because, for example, like I-360s, they changed the office to mail the package to Nebraska instead of Vermont, and then that was like earlier this year. And then a couple months later, we had a case that was transferred from Nebraska to Vermont. So it's like the whole point of changing the address was so that, to begin with, where they receive it is because of managing a caseload. So they don't know how to manage a caseload. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's pretty nonsense. Let's see here. Thanks so much. By the way, this is a good time for me to share with you. We do offer a strategy session for y'all for 15 minutes at no cost. All right. I know, because for one reason, you might already have a lawyer, and we're not trying to step on any attorney's toes. But here's the thing: if you contact your lawyer and you haven't got a response, it's been, I don't know, say reasonably 1 to 2 weeks. 2 weeks is kind of stretching, I think. We tried our best to call back or reply back within 24, 48 hours. But a call back 24 hours or even the same day, it could be even faster. Okay. But really, even calling us is not the best way to get an update about your case or anything like that. We have 3 different ways, but I'll go into that later. But anyway, to contact us or schedule a time, our phone number is right up here, okay, on YouTube and Facebook. Otherwise, you can go to our website, greencardguys.com. And if you're at work, no worries. Just send us a quick DM and ask for our info, and we'll share it with you. I guess you wouldn't be able to do that while you're driving, but I've heard of people driving and listening to the live show, maybe without looking. So that's cool too, but please be careful driving. Nikki asked, not related to employment, but what's the processing time for, I think you said minor citizen filing for minor. So it's whether it's a spouse or minor, it's at least 3 different phases, right? The first phase is petition I-130 to demonstrate family relationship. So let's say like a birth certificate, or if it's a spouse, marriage certificate, all right? So that generally takes 12 months. So this is assuming the minor or the beneficiary immigrant foreign national is abroad outside the U.S., okay? But the whole process and the person's here in the U.S., generally 12 months. If it's a marriage-based and in the U.S., 3 to 5 months as of the current trend, 2023. Who knows what's going to happen next month, right? They could change it willy-nilly, however the heck they want. But then the second phase, okay, Nikki, is that it's essentially what we call National Visa Center, all right? Then that's where you upload your financial documents as a sponsor. Then the third phase for that is preparing for the visa interview. All right, let's see. I'm going to try to answer about 5 more questions. But if I don't answer your question, don't worry. You can access us still as we offer the strategy session for 15 minutes at no cost to you. And please know there is no obligation to authorize us to help you, although it would be our pleasure to assist you if you need that help, okay, for the rest of your case. Which, by the way, we do get calls. Like, I remember yesterday our team asked me if we can help with this to verify. But for example, if you get a denial letter, if you receive a request for evidence, or even a notice of intent to deny, that's not good, right? But at least they would tell you, hey, we're really concerned about this. So this is your last chance to give us some evidence. And that's what essentially a notice of intent to deny. It does not mean you've been denied. They're giving you one last chance. So yes, we do help with those scenarios. However, please keep in mind, when a person is denied their case, there is a very limited window to file a 290B. It's basically asking for reconsideration or a reopening of the case. It's 30 days. Okay. So it does not mean to play, and I won't say play around, but don't mess around in the sense like, oh, I'll handle that later. I got to focus on something else. I got to play games on my phone or whatever. Like, you need to focus. I'm going to go bowling. Like, don't focus on that. This is your legal status in mind. A lot of people contact us and like, oh shoot, it's almost the end, towards the end of the deadline. I'm like, yo, we can't help you. Like, in the magical world, we still can't help you. Okay, so you got to really focus on contacting a lawyer to see who is the best one to help you with, and making sure you have the budget for it. To be honest, like, if you want one of the better lawyers in your opinion to help you, it's not, in this kind of situation, it's not going to be cheap, to be honest, because it requires, especially requires our time within a limited window of time, like in a couple weeks, right? So a notice of intent to deny is also limited, 30 days. Okay. So if you have, what are some red flags to consider real quick? Sorry, I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but you need to know this. If you have a site visit, if you have USCIS, like what we call like fraud and detection officers, but whether there's one or two show up to your where you live, that's a red flag. Okay. I hope that's obvious to y'all, but sometimes you may not think, oh, I passed that with flying colors. I told them the truth and it should be fine. No big deal. Well, typically, the first things they look at that would probably even trigger a site visit is number one, do you even live at the same place? Okay. Do you live at the same place? And the first thing that triggers that is your forms. If your forms don't show the same address, I would suspect, if I were working with USCIS, which I have not in my life, that would trigger, like, okay, we need to go check out this person's home, see if they even live at the same place. Okay, I'll go live on this topic more to share more information. So if you think you have questions about that, reserve that maybe for next week. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for your questions. I'll try my best to answer them. Teen or Tine, when is the waiver 601A get approved? So generally right now it's processing about, according to USCIS, and you can check online yourself, uscis.gov processing times. It's taken about 36 months. Wait, 44 months. So what is that? 3 to 4 years processing time before the pandemic. So before 2020, among other lawyers and ourselves, it was average 8 months. Yeah, it was possible to process faster. So it's a lot of BS. They just keep blaming the pandemic. The CDC says we're not in the pandemic. So how can they continue saying it's pandemic? Look, I get that people are so happy about getting their waiver. I mean, the interview waived for people who have the AOS marriage right here in the United States, right? But look, if they're going to blame it on low personnel, not enough people working, who knows? I guess that's one of the reasons why they're waiving interviews, right? They don't have as many people working. So it's a serious issue. But they need to figure out internally what to do, because we have been able to file lawsuits and with success in getting your waiver 601A decisions sooner. Now, I can't say that, oh, you just filed last month, that, oh, we can file a lawsuit then. That's too early. But if it's at least, I would say at least 2 years, 24 months, then we can help you out. Okay. So in general, if there's any situation where you have a case that's been delayed or application has been delayed, let us know. Okay, we'll tell it to you straight if we think it's a situation where we can file a lawsuit or not. So at least you have some peace of mind that you didn't, because you don't want like another year go by and then you finally talk to a lawyer, and maybe that lawyer doesn't even know anything about mandamus, but then you talk to one that does know, and then that one's like, yeah, we could file your lawsuit like a year ago, right? So it doesn't hurt to ask a lawyer. Of course, not every immigration lawyer helps with these mandamus case delay lawsuits. Edson, all right. You have an approved Edson has an approved I-130 and just applied for 45. Will it work? Uh, Likely not. If you're not familiar, you need to be familiar with the visa bulletin. Okay, follow Chart B because it sounds like you're in the U.S. and hopefully you have non-immigrant visa right now. Because otherwise, if you don't have non-immigrant visa, you could be out of luck. Okay, because they need to maintain status. I don't know why. If I pin a comment, does it go away if another person pins a comment for me? This is interesting. Okay, so I thought it just goes in line after the time runs out. You're unmarried. Oh, you're unmarried over 21, but CSPA, yeah. It just depends on the chart B for you. Okay, Edson. All right, so next one. Okay, let me X out that one. All right, thank you so much. In the meantime, I'll try to find the next question. Let's see. Yeah, you're welcome, Nikki. In the meantime, I was trying to find that one that I just, okay, there we go. Pluto boy. What if employers ready to file? Is there a waiting period for some audit before they can begin? I'm trying to understand what you mean by audit. Does that mean like a preliminary research internally? But as an employer, it also depends what type of visa, right? For H-1B, generally speaking, um, well, you have to register in March, right? There's something called second round for H-1B, meaning if there's some visas that weren't utilized essentially, because there is a limit, 80 something thousand visas for H-1B every year, every fiscal year, and maybe the employer says, nah, forget it. For the I got that my candidate got selected, but I don't want to move forward anymore. Or maybe that candidate employee or candidate, yeah, the candidate ends up working for another company, and that person got selected to that other company. So eventually, visas become available. So that's why they do a second round. But that doesn't happen every fiscal year. But it did happen this past one a couple months ago. Okay, but anyway, I guess to answer your question, I need more information. We need to know which one you could be qualified for. Then that can help us answer your question. All right, Tony, you heard people say that their lawyer told them not to file a lawsuit, but just to wait. It essentially depends on the time delay. Okay, right. If you just filed an application, it's been 4 months. I would say with any application, that's too early. That's not what we call unreasonable. But if it's been generally a year, it's safe to say that for most application, yeah, again, we need to verify. But for most applications, even 12 months is unreasonable. But sometimes it depends on the stage of the case, right? So, so hopefully that gives you an idea. But no, it does not hurt the case. If attorney says that, that means they don't have experience with mandamus. So let's say, for example, and thank you so much for bringing this up, Tony. But for example, if let's say you file a lawsuit and you end up getting a person, not you, receives a notice of intent to deny, or you receive a denial letter or RFE. First of all, you would not receive a denial letter. Knock on wood, we have not received that because of a lawsuit. But yes, our clients have received RFE or notice of intent to deny after file lawsuit. But that is what the lawsuit is for. The purpose of it is to push the case to the next step. You would have received the NOID or RFE anyway. It was just a matter of time. Essentially, the purpose of the lawsuit is because the case is stuck. Think of it as a rock in the pile in Houston, in the road of Houston, in the roads of Houston. It's like a swamp. It's a black hole. It's very sad, unfortunately. A lot of people are eligible and qualified, and sad, especially for marriage cases, right? Because if people don't, thankfully for like social media, I'm able to share this. Other attorneys are able to share their scenarios with their clients without divulging information or confidential information. But there is an opportunity to help you. You just need to um, schedule a call with us. Okay. So you can ask very specific questions about your own case and we can point you in the right direction. Now, look, if you call us and we tell you, look, I'm sorry, it's a little too early, we're going to be upfront with you. Okay. But there's some people that are a bit urgent. And let's say it's like 2 months away from what we call like our own chart of unreasonable timing. I may be able to consider to file your lawsuit sooner than later, but you have to know that um, really, I don't think there's a risk. But if you think it's a risk in the sense that uh, you could be wasting your court fees, yes, right. But we what we do eventually is um, if the court case ends up getting dismissed because it's too early, what we try to do our best is coordinate with the U.S. attorney even after the case. Of course, I can't guarantee that for your own case, but let's take it step by step and see if it's even meets our own table, our own chart of what we call unreasonable delay. All right, now let's go to you got a combo card 5 months ago, but your I-130 and 45 marriage is still pending 15 months now. Okay. So 15 months. Glad you got the combo card. All right. But 15 months, Atlanta. From what I checked Atlanta, let's see. See if I can pull up the processing times here in Atlanta. 485. Excuse me. Let me share my screen on YouTube and Facebook real quick. So yeah, some attorneys are, anyways, select form, I want 485. So if you're all on TikTok, Instagram, wondering what I'm doing, I'm sharing my screen on YouTube, Facebook. I'm at the USCIS webpage on processing times. And Alikma, I think I'm assuming that, marriage, you say. ATL, Atlanta. Okay, it says 80% of cases are completed within 22 months. Now, that does not mean you have to wait 22 months, whatever it says on a chart, right? Because we all know a lot of attorneys and myself have been talking about interviews being waived. Now, if you're saying like, oh, it's been 5 months, can we file a lawsuit? No, that's not what we call unreasonable. But we do know they can process these marriage cases sooner, right? Because the U.S. attorneys like to use data, and so do we. So 15 months, I'll probably wait a couple more months. Okay, a couple more months. And then we can file a lawsuit, maybe like 16, 18-month period. Okay. But continue to see if you can submit inquiry. We said 15 months ago. So what is that? November. So 2022, 3 months before November was that August. Let me just put a receipt date here. So on the same webpage, you can put in receipt date and will tell you if you can submit an inquiry. So that's unfortunately one of the ways that USCIS stops people from continually submitting inquiries. So, oh, son of a gun. That's ridiculous. Okay, Elikma on TikTok. I put in a receipt date of August 1st, 2022. I'm assuming that's 15 months ago. And it says your case is processing normally. The earliest you can submit questions is November 29th, 2025. Ridiculous. That is absurd. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a sense of how ridiculous USCIS is. And you really need to consider speaking with a lawyer. Doesn't have to be me. Just don't assume that the government is going to do the right thing and give you the legal status that you deserve. Okay. Take action, even if that just means speaking with a lawyer. Okay. I need to make a list for y'all for different scenarios that you really should consider speaking with a lawyer, even if you already filed your case, because a lot of people delay and delay. Things come up in life. You have kids, you got to take care of your little one. They got to go to school because you're ready to get them out of the house. And then you're like, okay, what do I focus on now? Finally, you can focus on yourself. So that's why this whole like self-care theme from the past couple of years, it truly also means your immigration case. Because imagine getting resident status, becoming a citizen, even a temporary work visa like H-1B, how much that can help you give you peace of mind for your future, right? So again, it'll be our pleasure to at least point you in the right direction and that help us fulfill our mission. All right, so one more. Oops. Okay. Emu on TikTok. Can someone get sponsored by employers with pending asylum application? This is a complex scenario. Okay. As you know, there's two legal scenarios. I can't go in depth right now alive because it probably bore a lot of people who are not in this situation. But essentially, you need to maintain your legal status. If you cannot, which you didn't, right? Because you applied for asylum, assuming overstay, then you need to be eligible for waiver, and which is required a spouse or a parent who's a U.S. citizen or resident. The second thing, okay, is about unlawful presence, okay? And so some people think maintaining legal that just because you file for asylum within 1 year, that it's good to go in terms of unlawful presence. But unfortunately, essentially the government will say, look, if when you file your 45, they're going to ask, well, we need proof that you maintain your status. Okay, so those are two, if I'm, two slightly different concepts, but related. Okay. I think I have a video somewhere separately. Just ask our team for it. That goes to more in depth. I shared my screen with all this research because some people have also shared some information. So I wanted to talk about that to explain it because it is quite complex. Tony says, you were super lucky for your wife. 45 was approved in 80 days. Congrats. Probably would have been faster if you would have sent the medical back. Hey, you were able to send the medical after the fact and got approved in 80 days. Congratulations to you and your wife, Tony. Glad that worked out for y'all. Yeah, because there are some people, you may have seen comments here that people said that they sent the medical afterwards and then it's been like a couple months from them. I think someone said 6 months. So yeah, if you have not filed your case before or yet to USCIS and it's a marriage case or anything related to adjustment status, try your best to get the medical exam results in a sealed envelope and mail it in the same package. That would reduce the time. Coco, your parents are GC holders, but in 2022 went to India for 5 months. And again, this year from April to October. Okay. All right. We're kind of close, I think, in terms of timing. They want to go again December, January 2024 to India. Can they do so? Your mom's dad is sick. So that's why they keep going. Okay. I'm sorry to hear about that for your pops. Your dad works here as a delivery DoorDash and paid taxes last year. This year going to also. He got GC in 2021 through his dad, who's a citizen. Okay. Geez, yeah. So the whole process is so slow, right? But you're wondering, I think your question is, can they go back to India? Well, the whole thing is really calendar year, right? The government focuses, like their own budget focuses on fiscal year. So it ends the end of September. But in terms of for green card holders, you have to follow the calendar year. You have to maintain 6 months minimum in the United States. Okay. In the United States, it does not have to be the same address. Maybe they stay with like different adult children or across the United States. That part doesn't matter. But in general, 6 months in the United States in a calendar year. So I can't do that math right now for you. I'm probably not the best team member to figure that out anyway, quickly on the spot. But if it's minimum 6 months for 2024 and 2023, then I would say, yeah, good to go. But please conduct that math on your own. Just because I'm Asian doesn't mean I'm good at math, but I think I'm okay. All right, one more question for now. Thanks so much for following us, and I hope you appreciate the information and how I quickly go through the answers or questions. But if you have a question, please ask again tomorrow if I didn't get to you. I'm sorry. What is the total cost to file for a child in the U.S. by a U.S. citizen stepchild? Well, it is 12. I usually remember 1760, I believe 1760, $535 for the petition and $1225 for the government fee on the 485. Oops, I'm not supposed to talk about fees on TikTok, I think. Oops. But the key thing to know about this, about you as a step parent, if you are the step parent, is that the relationship between the parents, the marriage had to have occurred before the child turned 18. So even though you could file for a child when they're under 21, the key thing is the marriage, step parent marriage has to occur under 21, under 18. Okay. All right. One more question here. AB Samuel, what's going on? Welcome back. What is the best way to prove to USCIS that you and your fiance have physically met? Other than photos, but flight itinerary, okay, to show that your fiance traveled to your country or where you live. Um, I mean, worst case scenario, if you can't find that, then I don't know how from the airport to where you live specifically, where you're home, like a bus ticket, that kind of thing, to show that your fiance was in your country. Okay, hopefully that helps. Yeah, photos is the best thing. But the thing of photos, like, don't just take any photo, right? Especially for fiance visa cases, go to some landmark that a USCIS officer can identify that, oh, that landmark behind you, like a statue or something like. Um, when I mean landmark, it's just something that's recognizable by a common person if they know, if they can do research online. Like people about New York, they think about Statue of Liberty, um, the World Trade Center, things like that, right? Like, so in your country or your town, your city, like, what is something that you can have something in the background? Okay, when you think about photos, backdrop. Okay, folks, hopefully that helps. Don't just chill at home and just take one photo in your patio or backyard. That's not really going to help the officer, because that could look like somewhere in America, which wouldn't make sense that you would, anyways. The government's silly. Moy. Okay, one more question. I keep saying one more. All right. To Moy, thanks for joining again on TikTok. Your son is in active duty. Thank you so much for his service. Does he need to be present at the interview? In general, the default is that the sponsor has to be at the interview. However, if you did receive the interview notice, I wouldn't necessarily just say reschedule the interview, because you never know when. Well, you might know, but especially being present to appear, I think this is one of those scenarios that it'd be still worth, of course, to show up. Definitely don't skip the interview if it's been scheduled, because you don't want them to assume that you just didn't want to show up, right? Like a marriage case. But because I'm not sure in your paperwork that you filed if it showed that he is currently on active duty, but that paperwork can help if you have like those what do you call it? Report to duty type of paperwork. I don't know what you specifically call it, but you bring that to your interview, and then hopefully at the interview they can reschedule you if necessary. But they don't automatically waive it. So hopefully you get a waiver on that maybe that you don't even have to show up to the interview. Okay, Moy. Good luck. All right, folks, I had to stop it here. Just a quick reminder is that if you appreciate the way I go through the questions and um, answer your questions, let me know. Let me know in the comment section. I welcome any feedback. I try my best to help y'all out, point you in the right direction. We really appreciate your trust to answer your questions. And if I wasn't able to answer in depth or at all, give us a call right here on Facebook and YouTube. You can see the number. Or if you're on TikTok or IG, send me a DM. Okay, one of our team members will reply back to you. It's generally not me. I wish I had more time. I wish I had unlimited time, but I don't. So anyways, look forward to it. And I will be back live not tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be at a conference. So maybe Friday. All right. Otherwise but yeah, maybe Friday. Maybe I'll try to go live on tomorrow, but it'll be tough. All right. Y'all have a good one. And I wish you all the best. Take care.